Shop attorney GRW. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you doing?
Man, everything's good. I know we got a lot to talk about, but we're gonna just somewhat streamline and get into some really things that are really kind of on the crust right now of some legal decisions, particularly for the NCAA, and a lot of guys, a lot of people that's going to be affected by this. Talk about what I'm talking about.
Well, we can consider this episode 1.
Okay. All right, great.
Last night we had one shining moment.
Yeah.
One season comes to an end, and hopefully this litigation season will begin to wind itself down as well.
Okay.
April 7th, there was one of the final hearing on the settlement proposal for the House, all the House cases. We've been talking about that for the last couple of years. Those are the lawsuits against the NCAA Power 5 conferences for antitrust violations, lost NIL opportunities, and things of that nature.
Okay.
So there was a hearing yesterday. There's going to be a resolution. Will probably happen within the next couple of weeks. As you know, there's a settlement proposal that gives college athletes the same revenue share as NFL and NBA players, 51% revenue share. They will have at least $20 million per team to spend on their athletes as they choose, up to $30 million.
And this will be annually, every year.
Every year.
Okay.
Every year.
Wow.
And the fallout is could be wide reaching. You may have some teams opt out of the madness, so to speak, and go back to Division III like St. Francis did. So just we're not going to compete. We can't compete, so we're going to go back to Division III. But getting back to this settlement. The settlement breaks down different classes of players. It goes back.
That gets sticky there. How you know what kind of player I am? But anyway, go ahead.
Right. It goes back to players that play between 2016 and 2024 are included in this settlement. There's 3 different levels of benefits or damages awarded. There's broadcast NIL. That's going to average $91,000 per player. With the range from $15,000 on the low end to approximately $280,000 on the high end.
Let me make sure I heard this right. So, if someone played in Division I, is it primarily Division I?
Primarily the Power 5 conference.
Power 5 conference, not as Power 4, but Power 5 back in the day.
Right.
And they played from 2016 up until now. Is that correct? Or
it covers players that played during that era.
Okay, and what era is that in?
That's 2016 to 2024. Well, it was 2024.
Okay.
And that kind of all of this is based on the broadcast deals that NCAA has signed. So that's kind of why that period is there. The NIL rules went into place in 2021. So there's a calculation that backdates back to 2016 players and their lost NIL revenue. So they kind of take the NIL revenue they were able to generate during those years, the initial year, and then they back forecast that and say, okay, what could they have gotten if this had been available?
So Ed O'Bannon, is this part of where he started back in when he sued the NCAA, or he started this conversation? But I don't think he falls in the category to get the money, does he?
Nah, he was a few years before 2016.
Oh my!
But his case is part of the reason why this litigation is moving towards settlement.
Right.
His case was filed in the early 2000s, still going on, still being appealed. So, and litigation costs a lot of money, especially when it goes on for this amount of time. So that's why the parties, the plaintiffs and the defendants, are pushing for this settlement to be accepted to kind of get rid of most of the cases, but then there's still going to be some outliers. You've got the O'Bannon case, you've got the Cardiac Pack case. You're going to have cases that come out of this settlement once it's approved, because team size is going to be based. Now they're based on scholarships. If this goes through, they're going to be based on roster spots. So it's going to kind of operate like professional franchises.
So those guys paid at University of Alabama, they get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about the Nick Saban era and all that. They guarantee get paid.
Yeah, they guarantee get paid. Your boy Slim Goodbody, Devontae Adams, guys like that.
Yeah, Slim Goodbody.
Oh, wow.
They already paid.
They paid. They get paid again.
They just gonna go to the mailbox and bill next year.
So
right.
So this is a lot of money. A whole lot of money.
A lot of money.
And I'm sure the NCAA, when this is all said and done, they don't want to do this again. So what do you think, like, what can they do, or are they putting anything in place to prevent this moving forward?
Yes, they're doing everything they can to prevent having to do this again. They're actually trying to get they're trying to get this codified into law to prevent additional lawsuits. So there were the judge had some questions, some reservations about the hearing yesterday was mainly about objections to the settlement and the non-revenue sports. I'll just call them that. They're going to have the biggest negative impact. They're going to lose roster spots. Obviously, the money is geared towards football and men's basketball.
So lacrosse and
golf
and
wrestling, swimming.
Yeah, okay.
There's going to be roster limitations. Because right now, you could, like, say baseball, they could give partial scholarships to have, multiple players on the team. But now this is going to actually limit the number of roster spots versus you can't just split up scholarships.
Because, again, I know we don't have time, but we need to, whether it's on this show or we do a podcast, I want us to go in detail about this because I'm hearing guys who was marketable during the NCAA run. They may get more money because they kind of had the storylines like Chris Jenkins and Nate and those guys, and
oh man, little Nate.
I mean, it's just a whole lot of storylines behind that. So we don't have no time to do it. But
right.
Again, I'm assuming you think this is going to happen.
Yeah, this will happen. It'll be approved in the next couple of weeks. The main hurdle that the plaintiffs need to address for the judge is some of the limitations on the non-revenue sports. Probably some type of grandfather clause that allows, because there are kids that have committed to go to schools, and this goes into effect, they may not have a roster spot at that school next year. So if
you understand, I don't quite get. Yeah.
So if there's, let's say that the sport is the team size is based on scholarships.
Gotcha.
So I can split up 15 scholarships however I want and get to 45 players. But if that sport is now limited to 30 roster spots,
gotcha,
then that extra 15 players, they don't have a spot.
Yeah, they don't have a spot.
So there's got to be probably some type of walk-on provision.
Yeah,
some type of
or maybe they could be sponsored by. Hell, can an alumni pay for it if they wanted to?
But you don't get an extra roster spot.
Right, it's the roster spot.
Okay.
Yeah. So there'll probably be a rider or a grandfather clause that allows those players that are committed to come in, or some type of phase out period.
It's too much, man. We need 2 hours talking about this.